Hey guys, hope you all are doing well. So I decided to start trying out a second team on Pokemon Showdown. So I'm going to make a separate playlist. I made a separate account for keeping track of the ELO rating. And once again, I decided I would start with a quick little introduction to our team before we get into the actual battles. So the idea for this team was to build a team around the offensive core of Gyarados, Heatran, and Garchomp. Three Pokemon that I really like separately, but also really work well together. Each of them is a strong Pokemon with high stats, good typing, high offense, good move pools. But type-wise, what's really cool about these three Pokemon is that no two of them share the same weakness. They have a lot of resistances, and in fact, between all three of them, they resist every type in the game except for Dark and Ghost. And in fact, back in Generation 4, they also resisted Dark and Ghost thanks to Heatran, but they took away that resistance from Steel type. Actually, we'll have a Fairy type on the team as well, so we'll have a Dark resist, and um, we won't have a Ghost resist, but nobody on the team is actually weak to Ghost, so not a huge deal. Um, so let's start with Gyarados. Gyarados, I'm actually not going to evolve into Mega Gyarados, mainly because I really just don't like Mega Gyarados that much. It might be a good idea to use, but instead I want to try it out with Moxie and with Flyinium Z. The idea being we can use the Z move to get an easy one-hit KO that activates Moxie and then start sweeping from there. To go with that, I'm going to give him Dragon Dance, which of course increases Gyarados' speed and attack power. Substitute to help resist any kind of status conditions and to help give it an easier time setting up. And then Waterfall and Bounce, which are its stab moves. Bounce is really more for Flyinium Z because you don't really want to use two-turn moves in competitive battles. But the nice thing about Bounce, unlike Fly, is that it has a pretty good chance of paralyzing your opponent. So even though your opponent has a free turn to switch, there aren't too many things that want to switch into a Bounce. But Waterfall will be our main sweeping move. In terms of nature and EVs, I think I went with a Jolly Nature. Yeah, just to give him a little more speed. That really helps him out, both with initial speed. I think he outspeeds most Landorus, and then after a Dragon Dance, I think he outspeeds Tapu Koko, which is big because Tapu Koko is pretty popular. And then EVs are just max attack and max speed with the last 4 points in special defense. For Heatran, I'm going to do a variant on the Heatran from my other team. I'm going to give this one Choice Scarf instead of Choice Specs, but otherwise it's pretty much exactly the same thing. The main reason I did that is because I have some fast Pokemon on the team. Well, I guess one fast Pokemon, Garchomp, but I don't have any priority. So I'm more relying on my bulky half of the team, which we'll get to later, to take any Pokemon that have set up. Um, but I figured it might be nice to have a Choice Scarf user as sort of a revenge killer, and it might take some people by surprise. I used a Choice Scarf Heatran back in Gen 6, and a lot of people stayed in expecting it to be slower when obviously it's not. Moves are Overheat, Flash Cannon, Earth Power, and Ancient Power. Pretty good special coverage moves. Max special attack, max speed, pretty standard stuff there. For Garchomp, I'm also not going to evolve Mega Garchomp, again, because I just like regular Garchomp better than Mega Garchomp, and also because it has better speed. So, and actually with Life Orb, regular Garchomp does more damage than Mega Garchomp outside of Sandstorm. And I don't have Tyranitar, so we will not have Sandstorm in most battles. Um, Plus, we keep the ability Rough Skin, which is always nice as well. It's a pretty good ability in a game that has a lot of contact moves and a lot of physical attackers. For our moves, we're going to go with Earthquake and Stone Edge, which have really good coverage, even though Stone Edge does not get Stab, same type attack bonus. Swords Dance for a boost, and then I gave him Stealth Rock because we don't have another entry hazard setter. I might change that later on. I was tempted to use another substitute, but I will have a Heal Bell user, so Burns wouldn't be that bad, and Garchomp is immune to paralysis, so although I guess he can be paralyzed by glare, not really sure if that's still a thing. I expect it is though, but you don't see too many uses of glare in competitive battling. Once again, max speed, max attack, Jolly Nature, pretty standard. Uh, then for the defensive side of the team, I'm going to go with Landorus-Therian again. Yes, that's another Pokemon that I'm duplicating from the previous team, but Landorus is just really good and a pretty cool Pokemon. I enjoyed using him in the first team, and hopefully he will be just as successful here. I did change up his move pool a bit. Still has Intimidate, still has the Rocky Helmet, I think the same EV investment as well. But instead of Earth Power, or sorry, instead of Earthquake and Stone Edge, since Garchomp already has Stone Edge and Heatran has Ancient Power, I gave Landorus Superpower since I don't have a fighting move on the team. So it's not a move you see on Landorus too often. It might help him counter like Ferrothorn or other Steel types just because we don't have Magnezone to rely on anymore, so they might wall my team a bit more effectively. Heatran will definitely be doing a lot more work than the other Heatran had to do. So we'll see how it goes. And then U-turn Defog are just great utility moves. Defog for getting rid of entry hazards, which doesn't matter too much since I don't have Dragonite on the team, but getting rid of Stealth Rock will still help for Gyarados. And U-turn just to gain some nice momentum and to make Landorus a very nice pivot Pokemon. Then for my defensive Pokemon, I guess Landorus is already kind of defensive, but my other two, on my other team I had Vaporeon and who did I have? I guess Vaporeon and Landorus really. But for this team, I'm going to go with Clefable and Toxapex, which I think are a pretty good defensive core. Both of them are really bulky Pokemon and perform similar but also very different functions. Clefable is a fairy type, which is a great type defensively and offensively, but especially defensively. So I'm going to give Clefable Moonblast just to do some damage, Heal Bell to remove status from the rest of the team. That way I can play a little bit more risky. And then Wish and Protect, which, as you guys know, I really love. That can keep our team alive, and again, allows me to play a little more risky with the rest of the team, because if they take a big hit, as long as they don't get knocked out, they can always be healed up. Protect is also very useful for scouting moves. I am giving Clefable Unaware, since I don't have a priority move. Unaware is like my go-to for dealing with any Pokemon that have set up. What Unaware does is, when Clefable is on the field, if a Pokemon attacks Clefable, it does not take advantage of any of its stat boosts, or I guess stat decreases as well. I think it works both ways. But so if you have a Garchomp that has +4 attack and you switch in Clefable to an Earthquake, the Earthquake will be treated as if it had +0 attack and not +4, and the Clefable could easily Moonblast in return. Leftovers is pretty standard item, max HP, max defense, and I think it's a Bold Nature, which is the plus defense minus attack. And last but not least, we have Toxapex, which I have not used before, but which I've seen in a lot of videos. Looks like a pretty cool Pokemon. Looking forward to using it. The Black Sludge is basically the poison type's equivalent of Leftovers. The ability Regenerator is really great. Allows him to recover whenever he switches out. I think it's 1/3 of their total HP. Maxing out on HP and special defense, since we already have 2 physical-ish walls in Clefable and Landorus. It's good to have a special wall, and his defenses are already naturally high anyway. And then Scald to do some attacking and maybe a burn. Knockoff is a really good utility move. Toxic for some status. Plus I figure because we have a lot of really durable Pokemon, having some Toxic spreading around might not be bad. I went with Toxic over Toxic Spikes because I don't want to be defogging my own Toxic Spikes all the time. Plus with Toxic you can hit Pokemon that are not grounded, like Dragonite or Zapdos, for example. And then recover because it's a really great move to have on a defensive Pokemon. So that's the team. Might make some changes as we go, but I'm going to get started and we'll see how it goes and just kind of play it by ear. So thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for our first battle.